Hi, this is Jon Ruland of Spider Goat Games, and you're listening to Legends of Tabletop.
Welcome back, John. It's good to have you on again.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So you guys have a Kickstarter going right now. You've got an expansion for your martial art card game. But
Yep.
before we talk about that, you've got an interesting Kickstarter strategy. You decided to just like take a vacation in the middle of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I went to Canada. I schedule it in such a way. I have a bunch of sort of trips I have to schedule around this Kickstarter, and the nice, well, could be nice, could be annoying things about Kickstarter is that in the middle, after about 5 days, everything dies down a lot. So
Mhm.
I made sure that was it about like 7 or 8 days into the Kickstarter was when I went. So everything went fine with that.
Cool. So no stress then for well, you guys funded in 5 hours too. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, are we gonna make it or are we not gonna make it? Like it dropped and it was you turn around, it was funded already.
hmm Yeah, after a little bit of experience with Kickstarter so far, kind of tell that mostly what you want to be around for is interacting with backers. Someone has a question, someone sends you a message, whatever. So after a few days, that goes down to a very small trickle.
Okay, I got you. And do you guys sort of like tag team Kickstarter stuff? Because there's a few of you at Spider Goat Games there, or is that like, is that
hmm
your specific task, or one, someone's specific
Yeah,
task to kind of go through that?
that's mostly my task, but everyone, of course, supports me in that. Danielle, our artist, has been supplying me. I'll say, hey, well, we're doing these things where we have this art that we want our backers to vote on, and so I'll say, like, hey, can you get me a mock-up of these two art pieces right next to each other with an A and a B, and she'll put that together, and then of course everyone else is sort of they help to find the artwork that we use, find the best ones to compare to show our backers and things like that. And there's plenty of other things too that they do.
Cool. And Danielle did the art for the original martial art game.
Yeah, she did all the graphic design. Yep, and
Yeah,
I think it turned out very, very well,
yeah,
especially with the font and just the swooshes with the for the numbers. They really help set the tone very, very well.
yeah. It's a beautiful card set. If anybody doesn't have it, head over to Spider Goat Games, check it out. There's links in the show notes for all the stuff. It's a lot of fun, and actually, in support of the Kickstarter, you guys ran a martial art tournament up at the Tucson Mall here locally.
We had about a dozen people show up for that and participate, and one of us here won that. Let's see. Yeah, you won that tournament, and you had to do a very nail-biting playoff round against Julian, poor Julian, who lost to you by 1 point in each of his games.
Mhm.
And you met
It was a lot
the
of fun.
back. Yeah, it was great. It was really fun to watch too. Just sort of being there and watching the decisions everyone was making.
Yeah. Um, is that the only one that you're doing over the Kickstarter? Or was that like just one big event?
Yeah, that's the only thing we've got going on. But it was a ton of fun, so we'll probably do more in the future.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was nice to see a bunch of people turn out for that.
hmm
Um, when you guys created martial art originally, was there always sort of an expansion in mind, or has this kind of come around organically as you've kind of played it over the last 2 years?
Well, it's kind of come around organically. We didn't really expect to do well. First of all, we didn't expect the game to be as popular as it is. We knew it was great, but the thing that really turned people on to it was the art. And we were originally just going to have Danielle do the artwork, but then we thought like, hey, why don't we make this? Why don't we use public domain art? And the Japanese art that was out there was just so amazing, and there's so much of it that we had a lot to choose from. And then we didn't expect that there'd be so much enthusiasm for a game that sort of whose purpose is to showcase, or at least on the surface, is to showcase this historic art. And of course, underneath it's very strategic. But a lot of people really, really like that that style of artwork and the history behind it.
Now, is that a particular style?
Yeah, it's ukiyo-e art, or ukiyo. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. And it's woodblock style. So there are many sort of a printing press type of idea, but there are different prints that can be done with it, different colorations based on the print you're doing. And there are many different prints and colors out there for a lot of the art pieces we've used.
Cool. It is a very striking style, and for me, like just that Asian theme for games, like so many games on my shelf that just kind of fit that bill. And some of it is just because of the art, or maybe the components. You get like little, coins, or different things that sort of showcase that style. Like for me, it's just it's almost an immediate purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what gets you to look at a game in the first place. You see sort of, oh, this one's about Japan. Okay, all right, that's cool. What's the game actually play like? And that's the secondary thing you look at. So, for example, abstract games are not. There are some people who really like abstract games, but but they are actually not a very they're not as popular as the other styles of games. So a big reason for that is that there's just the theme, just no real theme in abstract games. So the theme is really what interests people to begin with.
Now, do you think that's a difference between, if we can use, Ameritrash versus Euro sort of thing, or like more of an American, play style as opposed to like traditional, European games? Is there that distinction that we're discussing as far as like our market?
It could be. I think the different styles are popular all over the world now. So I think in the American market there does seem to be a lot of that sort of more thematic game style. That's sort of Hollywood type of gaming style. But they're so intermingled now that I feel like Eurogame and Ameritrash are just sort of they're just sort of game descriptors now instead of actual like geographical things.
Sure. Now, do you find yourself also being pulled towards theme, like when you're looking at a game on the shelf, or do you, as a designer, are you like, all right, cool, I get it, it's it's an Oriental theme, what's the play? Like, what am I getting into? Do you just kind of like dig right into the crunch?
Well, I mean, I've played enough bad Ameritrash games to realize that it takes more than theme to make a game good. And on the flip side, I've played enough soulless Euro games that you need a good theme in order to really care about the game. At least I do. So it's kind of, I've really sort of struck this balance in between, because you can have a game that's all theme. I better not name any names, but
do it.
No. Android, and they just play so they just play so awkwardly, and they're just so unwieldy that it's after 3 or 4 hours of it, you're like, okay, well, they should have built this game with more mechanics in mind than just the theme.
Sure. And do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown on how martial art plays for anybody who may be unfamiliar with what we were originally talking about?
Yeah, so martial art is just based on the game War. You have 2 to 4 players who are competing for lands that come out. You need to capture a certain number of lands to win the game, and you have a hand of cards, and you play 1 card every battle. Rounds are called battles, and then you flip them all at the same time, and whoever's the highest number wins. So that's where it's like war. But almost every single card has a unique ability on it. For example, an assassin, strength 5, will kill a battle card of strength 10 or higher by setting its strength to 0. So it's sort of this rock, paper, scissors sort of thing. But you can also sort of plan your hand, build up your hand, or play support cards in support of the card you played if you're just a little bit behind, and things like that.
Cool. All right. Um, are you guys going to be at RenCon this year? We're getting close to the time now.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be running martial art, but I think most of us are going to go to RenCon. Love RenCon.
Okay, so you're not committed to running anything yet?
And I committed. I mean, I guess if there's enough interest, we could do another tournament or something. That'd be fun.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, yeah. If we could get at least 8 people or so, we probably could. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
That'd be a lot of fun to do.
All right. But other than that, you're looking just to go and enjoy and play some games?
Yeah. Yeah, just go and play some games. Is sign up available yet? I don't think so.
No, I tried to log in and it wouldn't let me. I was apoplectic. I couldn't. I bought my ticket. I went to log in. It said, "Oh, this is not associated with this email." I'm like, "What the hell?" So I emailed. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's not live yet. Like I have to put in the Eventbrite codes and like set up the system
early because all the good games fill up quickly."
Yeah. Do you? I don't know if I've ever asked this before. Do you play RPG games or no?
I do, yeah, a little bit. We run a D&D campaign right now. I'm the dungeon master.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I always love those games.
Are you doing 5th edition?
What's that?
Are you doing 5th?
Yeah, 5th edition. Not super into heavy role playing, but moderate role play and decent amount of character maximizing, character power gaming.
You got a table full of murder hobos then?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, that's fair. I guess we should probably talk about the Kickstarter, right? So you guys are fully funded, 5 hours, fully funded. You guys have hit your second stretch goal, at least as of earlier today. You guys had cleared 7,000, still a little over 7.
Yeah, sweet. So that's really cool. That second stretch goal is for a new legend card art. It's sort of it's just sort of a nice sort of bridge between the first stretch goal, which was cool. There's a few updated cards, and then the $10,000 stretch goal, which is the big tuck box that everyone wants. That'll hold both the base game and expansion and sleeves.
Nice.
Just thought it'd be cool to have something in between there. And there's so much great art out there. The more we can get out to people, the better.
Yeah. And the new and for battlefields, what we're looking at is terrain and weather cards that are going to be added to the game. You want to explain how all that stuff works?
Yeah, that's right. So in basic martial art, there are cards called support cards, which can be played when it says on the card. So if you flip your card and you have a 9 and the other guy has a 10, you can play a cavalry, which will boost your strength by 1 and raise that to 10. So terrain is a little bit like that. It's you play it before the battle, face up, and it does something to sort of modify the battle, hopefully in your favor. So, like for example, you have the card Swamp, where you play it and you declare a number. Like say you plan to play a legend, which is 13, and you don't want to be assassinated. So you play Swamp and you say, no 5s. No 5s are allowed to be played. Assassin, of course, being number 5. And so then, however, what you can do there is with that terrain card, it says no other player may play a 5. So you can then bluff and say, actually play a 5. And everyone else, not expecting there to be any 5s, might play cards that can be hit by your assassin. Seen that happen several times. One guy hit 3 other people with it. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the other mechanic is weather. Weather is sort of this random effect that stays out until it's replaced by more weather. So you shuffle it into the land deck, and when you play, so depending on the size of the game, you're going to draw either 1 or 2 lands. And if you draw weather, you put it into play. And a good example is snow. Snow is a weather that says when you win a land, you must discard cards equal to the point value of that land. So it gives you this sort of interesting cost-benefit analysis. So if there's a 3-point land out there, is it worth spending a powerful card to get it and discarding 3 other cards? So just kind of interesting things to modify the game and give you a few more sort of interesting decisions to make.
Yeah, that snow card is brutal. That came out in 1 or 2 of the games that I was in the tournament. It's like, oh, just take it, just take it.
And the cool thing about weather in that regard is they really feel thematic. You know, you don't want to, like, it's snowy out. You don't want to charge your troops through the snow. You know, they'll all die from exposure, sort of thing. So, and there's brisk winds is sort of the supply ships are coming in. It gives you an extra card when you play supplies. Drought, you discard down to 6 after every battle because it's too hot for you to muster a huge army. You can't supply them all with water. It's just it feels, and then of course the art makes it look really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. And it's subtle too. Like you describe it like, oh, cool, that totally makes sense. But like as you're just kind of going through it, like maybe you don't pick that up right away. But it's such a cool synergy of art and game mechanics and the weather stuff. It's really cool to see that.
Yeah. I think actually one of my favorite effects is High Ground, coupled with the new card. Well, I think we're going to call it Tanagashima. That was actually subject to some debate. It's currently called Arquebusier. It's basically a musket. So early firearms are very random. So the idea is that card has a random effect, but it's a strength 15, and the High Ground cancels. If you play a High Ground, a terrain card, it'll cancel the effect of your battle card if it's strength 10 or higher. So you have troops sort of shooting down the hill onto the enemy below you from your High Ground and your Arquebusier. So it's just a really cool to imagine what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And it's now it becomes the most powerful card in the deck, even better than the what before was the legend card.
Right.
Now you've always got to be wary for does somebody pull 15 out?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have a 14 and you play High Ground, well, I guess it doesn't actually. It only affects you, but yeah, there's so many things to look out for now. It makes your decisions even more interesting than they were before.
And to kind of follow up on that theme, one of the new cards, the Outrider, cancels that weather effect, which makes sense, right? Like you're sending troops out ahead, they're scouting the terrain, they're looking to see what the weather is and all that stuff, and it's just a very cool, cool way to kind of develop that. Yeah,
there are lots of very powerful ways that card can be played. It doesn't have a great use for most of the game, but sometimes you play it for something that's really, really powerful. For example, there's if your opponent plays Swamp and says no playing any 5s, no assassins, and you save that Outrider card, and then you reveal and you have a 5 and you cancel the effect, suddenly you've assassinated his legend. So it can be very, very powerful, and it's also very, very thematic.
Yeah. And then with the first stretch goal, some of the original cards from the base game now are going to get a little bit of a spit shine. You want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first one was Geisha. That one was not part of the stretch goal. It's included in the expansion by default. That card is very, very interesting. However, it's way too powerful. It's by far the most powerful card in the game. So what we did is we broke that into 2 cards. One to so what the Geisha does is it says you can play it at any time to cancel the effect of a battle or support card. So we've split that into 2 effects. Let's say you can. One is called Geisha. The other one is called Takemochi. A Takemochi is sort of a male version of a Geisha. And what the new Geisha does is it cancels a battle card. Those are the ones you play face down. And then the Takemochi cancels a support card. Those are the white cards that you play sort of to boost your strength or do whatever. And not only was this an improvement to the gameplay or the balance of the game, it also made your decisions more interesting because the old Geisha was just so flexible. You could just sort of play it and hold on to it and play it whenever. But the new ones, you have to really plan ahead. So, all right, so that's Geisha. The other ones are they're much more minor, but we just wanted to tweak them a little bit. First one was Emperor. Emperor is a 12 strength battle card that says, previously said, if you have the highest strength after battle, then the player of the lowest strength draws a land from the land deck. So we want to change that one because it was too random. Just sort of whoever happens to play supplies that turn gets a free land. That could be the person in first place. So we changed it to the player or players with the lowest or the fewest land points get to draw a land card. So it's not only does it make that card sort of less random and more likely to be played, it's also a nice little catch-up mechanic. So if you're behind, you have 3 points, everyone else has 8 or 9, and you get a 2 or 3 point land from that, all of a sudden you're back in it.
Yep.
And in fact, you could both win a land that battle and get a free land. So it's a small catch-up mechanic. The next one is Shogun. What Shogun said before was, again, it's 12 strength. Emperor and Shogun are sort of this tandem of strength 12. No other number in the game has multiple copies. But strength 12, it says if you do not win a land after battle, you have to shuffle your highest point land back into the land deck. And what we found was that no one would play that card after the first time. So what we changed it to was if you do not win a land, you shuffle a land back into the land deck. So if you have a strength 1 land card, it's not nearly as risky. So you can play that strength 12 to go for a high point land. And if you don't win, whatever, you lose 1 point. Not a huge deal.
Right. It makes the 1 point land cards that much more valuable. Because a lot of times, like I know when I play, like, oh, it's a 1 point, take it. I'll play supplies. I'm going to start to build up my hand. But now you're like, oh, well, I have a 2 and a 3 and a 2. Well, shit, well, maybe I want to fight for it because when I play this Emperor, I don't want to lose 2 points.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said about making the 1 point lands better, we have ideas we've been toying with for future expansions because this one turned out so well, and one of the ones we'd like to do is sort of a land-based expansion where there's cool things you can do with land, and especially 1 point lands. So yeah, that's a thing on the horizon as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, like I said, we didn't plan this game to be modular and to be so expandable, but there's just a ton you can do with it. Surprisingly, the very, very simple rules. I mean, you can teach the game in 2-3 minutes,
right?
And it's quite expandable. But yeah, the last 2 cards we changed were actually land cards whose effects we basically never saw their effects. There's one that says, there's one about discarding your hand and drawing a new hand. We expanded that from the winner of the battle to anybody, so that we'll see that more often, and people can sort of dump their hands and go for the aggressive strategy more. And then the other one was Kyoto. So this one previously it said after battle, if your strength was 7 or higher, you have to discard 2 cards. So this one is a little bit more subtle. We changed it to strength 8 or higher. What this does is it makes Scout a lot better. And actually, there's a weather in the new expansion that is strength 8 or higher as well. That also makes Scout much better. So in multiplayer games, especially, Scout was discarded more than any other card because it just wasn't that useful. So now with Scout, you can get around that weather. You can get around Kyoto and still have the highest strength of any card. And you can also, it's the highest card you can play for Archer. So Archer and Ninja. So that makes Scout a lot better, and hopefully we'll see. We already have seen it played a lot more in our own playtesting.
Right. Yeah, it makes it's so much better. I was hoping we were going to play the tournament with the new with the new
Yeah,
expansion. 'Cause I'm like,
I,
oh man, this set like because then you got to try to hold on to a number 6, which would be your Raider card. And you're
yep.
like, well, hopefully when that land comes up, I'll play the 6, and maybe somebody plays the supplies, and
Right.
everything will be fine. Because they're like, ah, crap, what do I do?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to play it, to play the tournament with the expansion, but we didn't have enough prototypes, and we would have had to, print and sleeve 6 decks or so. So, yeah. Yeah, maybe if we get our cards by RingCon, and maybe we'll try a tournament there with the expansion. That'd be
Cool,
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, and so I guess we should say too that the Kickstarter will end, I guess, about the middle of this month or towards the end of the month. But you guys are looking to ship and have product out the door in November, like super quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's very quick. It's so simple. It's just a deck of cards with um, a tuck box and rule sheet. So last time we did it, it took about 3 months from the end of, maybe even less, from the end of funding to get to ship everything to our backers. So that's what we're anticipating again. So let's see here. What was that? September, October? Yeah, another 3 months. So I think that's a pretty reasonable time frame.
Cool, very quick.
That's one thing about these simple games is they're quick to finish.
Does anybody ever comment on that? Through the Kickstarter questions or anything like that? Like, are you sure 3 months? Oh, that's crazy, 3 months.
Oh well, so not this time, but originally for the original martial art, we had a company that charged. They were very, very fast to print the cards, but they charged a lot of money. And so we originally had a expectation of 1 month to ship everything to people.
Wow.
And so we sort of switched mid-campaign to a different printer, and we asked our backers if they thought that was okay, because we wanted to print more decks at a lower cost and give them 18 more cards. So everyone was very supportive of that. That was very great. So I think we did originally have a couple questions of, are you sure you can get this out in a month? Which is really fair.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes, I mean, you're purchase something and forget, you get an update, you're like, oh crap, I forgot I backed that thing, and then like a year later you get a package in the mail and you're like, oh shit, that's right.
Yeah. This thing, I was excited about this a long time ago.
Right.
I did have one game that never came. That was disappointing.
It sucks.
It was called Maze Master. I was really looking forward to that one. That one looked really fun.
Was there any resolution? I mean, did they just like grab the cash and go?
No, the guy sort of it was his first Kickstarter, and he didn't realize everything that was going to be required of him afterward. Didn't realize the workload, and he ran out of money after a while. And what happened is some other company, I think, picked up the game and mailed the games out to as many backers as they could, which is about 2/3 of them. It was UK based, so the ones in North America were sort of the last to get their games, and I did not. So I mean, it happens, right? I suppose.
Yeah. So I'm lucky so far. Haven't had anything that's crapped out on me yet.
Yeah, that's the only one I've had out of, I don't know, 20 or 30 games that I've backed for the full pledge amount. I back a lot of them just to follow them because I'm curious about how they do things, obviously from a creator standpoint.
Sure. That's cool. Now, have you always been a gamer growing up? Did family play games and stuff like that, or what kind of got you involved in the whole process?
Yeah, pretty much always been a gamer, starting with simple games like Monopoly and Risk, and then moving on to things like Axis and Allies. Played with my dad when I was, maybe 12, and then got into more modern games. Later on, around 14, I got into Warhammer. I thought that was really, really cool because growing up on Lord of the Rings,
right,
and dwarves and orcs, and then just sort of expanded from there. Met more people who like these hobby games and just can't get enough of them.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm not sure that you know, but Seth Jaffe was organizer for the Tucson, gaming, huge gaming group in Tucson.
Mhm.
He stepped down. Has that fallen apart, or is that still together? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not involved with Saga. I don't. Is that what you're talking about?
No, there was a meetup group in Tucson that he was, I guess, organizer for, and I guess he had stepped down, and I didn't see
Mhm.
anybody get, sort of take up the mantle as organizer for meetup because I think there's like 1,800 people in the
Oh,
Tucson
wow.
meetup, something like that.
No, I haven't. Haven't you talking about Meetup.com
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or Meetup? Yeah, I haven't used Meetup.com in a long time, but I mostly have a group of people I play with, and whatever friends they bring and things like that. So I'm not sure what happened with that. I'm sure Seth has a lot on his plate right now. I think he just had his first kid.
Yeah, his wife said it maybe I think about a
Yeah,
month ago. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I'll take up a little bit of his time.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Uh, no, I think I'd asked you before, but do you do any play testing at the local stores that we have here? And Tucson has a fairly rich hobby scene, I guess, gaming scene.
Yeah, I mean, if we're playtesting something, anyone who wants to come and join up is certainly more than welcome to try. And as far as playtesting other things, I don't go to any sort of formal unpub events, but a friend has a game they want to try out. We'll do it. There's one guy I know who's been working on a game of his for a couple of years now, and he's I've played many different iterations of it, and it's a fun thing to do if someone's got an interesting game to sort of help them and watch it grow.
Cool, cool. Um, for Spider Go games specifically, what's your like overall philosophy? Are you looking at generally speaking smaller, lighter games as like a production focus as opposed to like a big, heavy Euro style game?
Yeah, we don't want to do anything big right now. It's sort of working our way up to things um, that are more within our our realm of ability, or within our ability to control right now. Because we're not really. I mean, we do this on the side. It's not our job. Um, and our very first game, Gangster Dice, was actually much more complicated production wise than martial art, and that was sort of more than we should have taken on at first. So we want to move on and do bigger and bigger games as we go, but we got to make sure that um, everything bigger we do is just sort of incrementally bigger, like a small amount bigger than our previous largest thing, so we don't screw anything up. Because if something goes wrong, and let's say we have a game that raises $50,000 on Kickstarter, and then we made all these promises, it turns out we're not, and we weren't experienced enough to either calculate the costs or not. We just can't keep the promises for some reason, then that's really really bad. So we don't want to take on more than we can realistically handle. But
Sure.
we do want to make more complicated games. Yeah,
Okay.
just slow.
Cool. You got to build up to it. Well, and part of it too, I guess, is laying that foundation too. Where you get the context, through China. If you're going to do, something that's got a lot of parts or minis or dice and like all
Yeah.
that other stuff, you've got to kind of get all that stuff down. And
And particularly communicating with people in China about these things it's very spotty. So not only is it different time zones, and you're not really going to talk to them on the phone or anything, but they may not really understand what you mean because their English might not be great. And, obviously, I don't speak Chinese, so
you're right.
I appreciate that they do speak English. But
Yeah, I mean that's the weird thing, right? Like English is the language of business across the world. Like
it is, yeah.
everywhere but here, they speak other languages, and we're like, nope. It's
Mhm.
just
Yeah, that's why a lot of Europeans will say, Americans only know one language. Like, well, yep.
yeah. Yeah.
That's all we need. It's nice.
You would think that with all the games and all the pieces and parts and everything that are purchased from China, especially for games and things like that, that they would have people on point that were fluent or more conversant. I would think.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty good, but I think the board game industry is not big enough compared to a lot of other industries to get the really good sort of customer relations people. So that could have something to do with it.
Sure, that's probably fair. Yeah. What do you guys have anything going on other than the Battlefields Kickstarter stuff you have in the wings you're working on?
Yeah, we have a game we're working on that's been designed by Adrian. Well, we got a couple games actually. So the first one, so Dark Web was the game that we failed to publish last year, and we've been retheming that into a haunted house game. And the art looks, Danielle's doing the art, and it looks awesome. Very, very cool. So we're working on that. We're going to relaunch it at some point in the not so distant future. And then Adrian has come up with a small card game that's called Divorce Simulator. And it's basically a game where it's a 2-player game where you have a bunch of things and you split them up and you try to split them up to your advantage. And the person who gets the most out of the divorce is the winner. So, yeah, it's a very, very funny, dark humor sort of game, and we think it's been a lot of fun. It's we did a test of it on Monday with the fully updated theme of the game. Like, it's the first time that the theme really came together as Divorce Simulator, and it was just hilarious. So that one's great.
Oh, I'm gonna have to get that one.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, we kind of figured that a game called Divorce Simulator would immediately be it would draw some eyes. So we did the best we could to theme it around that theme.
Cool.
So yeah, it'll be tons of fun.
Now, I think last time you were on, you had a different haunted house game that you guys were working on, Monster House or something to that effect. Yeah, is that still sort of?
Yeah. So the thing is, so there were two things that went into this new haunted house game. There's Dark Web, and then there was that other haunted house game I mentioned before.
Okay, so you just kind of merge them together.
Yeah, that game was fun. It was just hard to make it work well because it had a mechanic that was very, very experimental. You would draw a card and you would try to communicate information by saying a word. Say your word was water, you'd say water. If it was a ghost. So it was kind of funny. It's kind of fun to play, but it was very, very hard to make it work well. So we sort of took that theme and applied it to Dark Web and have updated the game accordingly, and it's turned out very, very well. So that's what happened to that game.
Cool. With a smaller company, Kickstarter is obviously imperative in success, because you're not just going to go out and be like, oh shit, we're going to purchase 10,000 units and I'll stick them in my garage. What's the sweet spot? As far as planning, at what point do you feel maybe there's some saturation of can we do 2 games this year? Should we try to do 1 game every quarter? Or is that something you're still kind of, sort of playing that by ear as you go along?
Well, it's just sort of whenever we get the games ready to kickstart is about how often we want to do it. And so far that's been only once a year so far, but I think we're at a position where we're probably going to do 2 or 3 in the next 12 months. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Busting it out.
Yeah, I mean, 1 a month. Probably people get tired of getting the letter from us game 11 is on Kickstarter. 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah,
ideally.
Now, as someone who backs a lot of Kickstarters, do you feel like have we reached a point of saturation with board games and stuff on Kickstarter? Because I mean, as gamers, we're collectors, right? So there's always something new coming out. There's some new mechanic or new designer or whatever. There's just oh, give me that, give me this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people have been saying that for years, and I thought, I thought myself that we would reach saturation point at some point. But the tabletop game, I mean, I think last year Kickstarter's revenue actually shrank a little bit for the first time ever, but the tabletop games section still increased by about 20%. So, I mean, it's showing no signs of slowing down for tabletop games. Certainly has for video games, but I mean, who knows? The board game market has been exploding ever since people realized that you can make good games that aren't just Monopoly or Risk or something that have like cool mechanics and interesting pieces. So yeah, it just depends on the growth of the overall board game market. Kickstarter feels like it's here to stay in that regard.
Yeah, I think so. Right. I mean, it's sort of the lifeblood for these smaller
Yep.
design companies. A lot of people are doing it, just part time, as a side hustle. So
Yeah, not only is it a big thing for the small market guys, companies, but also I think the thing that's really giving it, really making it an integral part of the game industry is that the big guys are getting into it too. There's one Kickstarter going right now called I think, what was it, Caverns Deep by Dwarven Forge. It's just this terrain Kickstarter, and it's probably going to raise at least $2 million. And what that does is it brings people into Kickstarter, and then they're there. It might be their first time backing something, and they might look around and see, oh wow, look at all this other cool stuff. And so yeah, I think that's the thing that's really made it an integral part of the gaming world, is that the big companies have come to launch projects on it too, seeing how useful it is.
right. I think some of them too, they almost use it as a like Cool Mini or not. It's almost just like a pre-order system now. Like, how many of these things do we got to publish?
Yeah, it is for the big guys. It certainly is. For the little guys, it's I was actually talking to the other SGG people today about this. You can still have that sort of, this is this is my first game ever, and I need to make it. I mean, I need money to make it. It's not going to get printed otherwise. I think the only thing that's really changed from the start of Kickstarter in that regard is that you have to make your project page look really, really good. So there's no more I have this idea for a game, write it out on a napkin. Like, no, you can't do that. But you can still definitely just as easily as before, probably even more. You're more able to do that now. Get your first game launched through Kickstarter.
Mhm. I feel it's not. I guess it used to be kind of like proof of concept. Like, hey, I have, like you said, I have an idea.
Mhm.
This is kind of what I want to do. Help me do it. Now it's like, no, I have to. I need the money to print it, but like, it's done. Like, here's the rules. Here's the, like, I've got art commission and everything. It's not like, hey, I have an idea.
Right, right.
We've moved
Yeah,
past that now.
you have to have a game that's done. Like, not only do you have to have it look amazing, or your page has to look good. Has to look convincing. It also has to, you have to have a game ready. And I mean, honestly, there's no reason you shouldn't have the game design 90% complete, because I mean, it costs, like, how much you need to spend on like craft supplies to make a board game, right? And to
Right.
test, $50, 100 maybe tops. So I kind of feel like it seems fine, that you should have your game basically done by the time you launch on Kickstarter. There's not really much preventing anyone from doing that, for at least having a polished game. Now the presentation is another thing that might cost you some money. You might have to spend some money on some art to make your project page look good, but you can make a great game. Anyone can make a great game with very little money.
Mhm. That's true. So go out there and make games, right?
Make games, make them good. Yeah, make great games and keep pushing the industry forward.
Do you have, aside from that little nugget, do you have any advice to give to people who, might be interested in and trying to get into this and design their own games?
Well, it's okay. Well, here's the advice I'll give. It's easy to design a game. Anyone can design a game. What's how good it is, depends on that's not the important part. You can make a really, really good game. Anyone can do that. It might take you a long time if it's a really, really good game, but not anyone can actually publish the game. So that's where the real secret is. Not really secret. That's where all the real work is, because it doesn't matter how great your game is if no one knows about it. So learn how to Kickstarter. It's very, very important. Learn how to get people looking at your game.
I mean, that's an art unto itself now. There's so many rules. Don't launch on this day, and you have to launch after this time. And
Yeah, the most important thing is to get as many people looking at it as you can. That's the number one thing. So if you figure out how to do that, then you can make your you can spend a year making your amazing game, and then you can launch your Kickstarter. But it doesn't matter if you spend a year or 5 years making your amazing game, making it the best game there is. I mean, it doesn't matter. There are thousands, tens of thousands of games are designed every year, and no one will ever know how good most of them are, because they don't get the eyeballs on them. So that's the main thing.
mm-hmm. And that starts well before when you'd actually think. Like, it's not about, okay, I'm on Kickstarter now, go look. It's like, no, 6 months before that or a year before that. Like, hey, I'm coming to Kickstarter. Hey, I'm coming. Start building up your email list and getting your web page set up, and making contacts and
just sort of building your audience. There are a lot of resources out there to read about how to build your audience. But one nice thing that about Kickstarter now that I attribute largely to the big companies bringing people in is that you can start out with like 20 friends and family who've all pledged. They'll say like, I'll pledge on day one, yeah. And then if you get those people to do that, you might get 200 others who are just around Kickstarter browsing, and they see your project.
Mm-hmm.
But don't rely on Kickstarter to get you backers, because you almost certainly fail. You need to get people to back day one, and then after that, whatever happens. So that's the thing. Get people looking at it.
Cool. Now, do you ever find yourself getting, pulled into the hype of a new game? Like I was just on the MFG cast. They had their 200th episode last week, and we were talking about Villainous a little bit. And I don't know anything about the game specifically, but it looks like you've got some crossover market. It's a Disney theme thing, so you've got that aspect, and you've got the board game aspect, and maybe bring in some kids. There's like a family thing, like, oh, we play with kids because it's got Disney. So do you ever find yourself, like seeing stuff come across Twitter or coming out of Gen Con, you're like, oh, that looks really good, I should go get it?
I don't follow a lot of that buzz. But occasionally I will see an advertisement on Facebook, and I'm not sure how I saw the Trogdor game. Are you familiar with the Trogdor game, Homestar Runner?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's based on this sort of web series around 2002, Strong Bad Email, which was hilarious for about a year and awesome. So they launched a Kickstarter for the Trogdor game, and I think I saw a Facebook ad for that, and I saw that, and I immediately went, oh, and I had to go and look at it. So I'll be honest, the game doesn't look very good, but it's got all the nostalgia stuff from the original Trogdor back in the early 2000s. So I went and backed that.
You did it anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'll get a play or two out of it. Have fun with the memories, and that'll be that.
Okay. I wonder about some of that stuff, because like I see a lot of things come across Twitter, maybe through Facebook, and maybe at a meetup group, or somebody will bring something to work and we'll play. It's always interesting to me, because there's always so much hype about everything that's happening, and I'm like, I don't know, like maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I almost backed Sagrada when it came out, and then like at the last minute I didn't pull the trigger. A guy at work brought it in, and we were playing it, and it's pretty. The components are nice. It's whatever. It's not. I don't love it. Like for me, it's not one that I would go out and buy myself. Like if someone, if you brought it into work tomorrow, I would play it. I'm like, no, I don't want to play games. Forget it. But it's one that's like, like as much hype as there is, it's just not.
Yeah, that is one side effect of Kickstarter, is that it's important for everything to look really good, but not necessarily play really good. So since presentation is everything, it seems like a lot of projects they put all their resources into sort of making it look amazing, and then the play has some flaw in it. That's been my experience with a lot of Kickstarters. Not always, but often that seems like a side effect, because like I said, it's 80% presentation, maybe more.
Have you played Sagrada before?
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. And I don't know that it's a fault of the game. Like, I don't know that, it doesn't play well. I just don't think it fits my particular style. And I wonder whether or not that's, dice drafting, in particular, like those, types of games wouldn't necessarily work for me. Like, I love an abstract game. And like I said, maybe not, a tremendous amount of theme there, but just like, a 2-player abstract for me, it's like, it's the best. Like Onitama. I mean, it's got a play of like 15 minutes. We'll be like 40 minutes playing one game, just like working. It's like chess, right? Work so many moves ahead. Like, it's just so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing. The biggest thing for me in a Kickstarter, if I'm about to back, is I need to watch how to play, or need to watch a playthrough video, because then I'll know if it's the type of game I like. I just got one recently that I sort of backed at the last minute, and it was, I read it, I saw the art, it was cool, guilty. I saw that, look cool. That's what people do. And then I read the theme real quick, and I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. And then it was only like $20, so I backed it. And then it turned out to be a game with a lot of take that, and basically game based around take that mechanics, which I hate. So wasn't my thing. So from then on, from then on, it's just I gotta watch it played.
Mm-hmm. I do that too. I'll go up to Isle of Games, and I'll go through the shelves. I'm like, oh, that looks good, and I'll read the box. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. So immediately, pull it up on YouTube or BGG, and like, what is this about? What are the mechanics? I'm a research board gamer.
Yeah, that's a good idea. A very good idea.
Well, I mean, games aren't cheap necessarily. I mean, you can spend upwards of $100 on a board game, and you want to make sure it's like, I'm going to play this like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. You go up to you're in a game store, you go see this big game on the shelf, you lift it, it's like 7 pounds, and you hear the stuff inside, but you gotta make sure it's something you'll play for your $100 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I wound up picking up the big box for Shogun, but it's a Min 3, and it takes 2 hours. And we do a lot of gaming at work, so I'm like, well, I'm almost never gonna play this. So I'm going to Maricopa Con this weekend. So I'm like, I'll run it. Then I get to play it like once or twice a year.
Yeah, I think I've only played that game once, but it was a lot of fun. Maybe twice. That's the one with the dice, or with the tower, right?
Yeah, the cube tower. Yeah,
that's an interesting mechanic. Yeah, it's sort of that bag mechanic, except it's not a bag. It's just sort of how the cubes fall.
Mm-hmm. Which is rough at a con, though, right? Because you got so many people moving around, invariably somebody bumps the table. And you're like, oh no!
And everyone's reinforcements fall out.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's a good one. I played the video game. I think it's the Total War series, at least for Shogun, I guess, is based on that. I still have it. I was playing it like 3 weeks ago.
I was playing Shogun Total War, or Total War Shogun 2 maybe 2 days ago.
Oh yeah,
I love it. Yeah, I'm still trying to beat it on Legendary, which is the hardest level.
I haven't done that. I beat it on normal.
Yeah, I almost beat it on Legendary, but all the other clans united against me, and I just sort of reached that point where they were just starting to push me back. So I have to start over. But oh man, I love the Total War games, especially Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun was my first, and then I got Medieval Total War. Played the crap out of that. My computer, it won't play on that video card, so I haven't played it in years and years now.
Mm.
And I tried downloading it from Good Old Games or Steam, or somebody had it, and I'm like, cool, I'll get it from there. It's an emulator, it should run. It still won't run. Fuck you! Come on.
Yeah, Warhammer Total War came out recently. And I was like, oh, it's Warhammer and it's Total War. But yeah, my computer's too old to run it right now, and I don't really feel like spending $2,000 because I don't play a lot of video games anymore.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing, but well, still got Shogun.
Got the classic, that, and like Icewind Dale or like Baldur's Gate. Like once here, I got to bust it out, play it for maybe just 2 or 3 days, or maybe a month. Like if I could, scratch some time together, and then it's like, all right, cool, I'm done. That's
all
enough.
Right. Well, yeah, that itch has been scratched. I'm gonna put it away for a while.
Yep. I mean, I'm not a huge video gamer, but like that's like Civilization and the Total War games like that. That's all like right in my bailiwick.
Yeah. The single player video games you can just sort of play for half an hour or something. Those seem like those are my kind of games. I don't play many video games anymore either. Usually when I play them, it's just kind of want to just chill for a little while, half an hour or so, or an hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, now everything's on your phone. You can RPGs and shooters and everything else. I figure if I'm going to put that kind of time in, I'd rather just play like an RPG. Like, get a couple people together, or jump online.
Get up on a table, or set the game up on a table and play with some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, video gaming feels. I mean, there are people who play. They all sit on the couch and play, but it's been a while since I've played video games like that. So board games seem like the more social thing, and video games the sort of solitary thing.
Have you been able to suck anybody in that wouldn't have been a board gamer if it wasn't for you? Like just be like, hey, you're out somewhere, or hey, bring a friend to game night kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few people. They haven't turned into hardcore board gamers, but definitely got some people playing, especially martial art, especially playing that game. A lot of the people who play video games love martial art. So yeah, I've been able to suck in some people that way.
Cool, very cool. You're an ambassador.
Yep.
I got a guy I work with. He's not. He wasn't really a board gamer beforehand, and we had been playing before he started. I'm like, hey, well, we do games at lunch. Like, if you want to check it out. So he started playing with us, and it's hard for me because like I'm, without the negative connotation, I'd like to think, but I'm kind of an alpha gamer, and that like it's you and me, and hardcore strategy, and I want to beat you. But it's like when we're teaching a game, I'm like, oh, don't like. Okay, you can do that. Totally do that. But if you do this and this, like it's going to be better for you. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I might lose now, but like it's no fun to bring somebody in and it's like, oh shit, you lost again. That sucks. All right, let's set it up again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just some. I mean, you can play video games and they're cool for what they do, but there's something about just holding the cards in your hand, moving pieces on a board, and talking to people face to face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We play most stuff kind of competitively, even if it's not like. One guy brought in Azul. He was like, yeah, it's kind of like laid back. Everybody's just sort of like doing their thing. And like first game, it's like, oh, fuck you. Here's 8 reds, like. So yeah, it's fun. That's fun for me.
Yeah, I like games. The reason I don't like that's kind of one of the reasons I don't like take that games is because you can if you don't have that take that mechanic, you can sort of be really competitive without directly targeting anybody. So there's not much feel bad when you are playing competitively.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing. That's just lets you can be really competitive and interact with people without being directly attacking somebody, I guess.
Right, right. You have to have the right group of players for it. Like like you wouldn't do it in a meetup group. Be like, hey, let's play this. Watch
Yeah,
this.
everybody. There's some games where you gotta be good friends with people to play.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right. Is there anything else that you want to get at? Anything else you want to talk about? Anything going on?
Don't think so. I'm just really excited about martial art. It's doing very, very well. We'll have more expansions coming too. I'm excited about those and the future games we've got planned.
That's awesome. I am definitely looking forward to that. And you guys could hit that next stretch goal of 10K. You got 2 weeks left, so everybody get out there and back early, back often. Order a couple of copies. Tell your friends.
Yeah, the game is great. We've played literally hundreds of games in testing, and we just never get tired of it. So I feel very confident that almost everyone will like this game.
Mm-hmm. And it gives an interesting choice. Like you say, you play hundreds of games. I mean, it's one of the ones that stays on our regular rotation, and it doesn't get old, right? Because you play with different people, so they have different, thought pattern. Like we usually just do 2-player. I don't know. It's just the way that it's worked out for us. Although I guess I'm gonna have to pick up another deck so we can expand that. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and the art is beautiful. It's definitely worth checking out, and it's quick too. Like we do, a lot of gaming at lunch. So if you've got a short amount of time, shit, you could throw it in your pocket. You could throw it in your in your purse. If you're sitting in line somewhere, boom, you bust it out. You could get a game in like 10 minutes. Like I don't leave the house without a book. It's a similar principle. Like instead of taking zombie dice, you grab martial art.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just a deck of cards. Easy to transport and really, really fast to play. And so one of the big things for me is when I game is sort of the density of gaming. It's okay if a game takes 4 hours as long as I'm not waiting around doing nothing for 3.5 of those hours.
Yeah.
And martial art is just constant. It's 10 minutes of just basically constant tension.
Right, right. Yeah, I was joking while we were at the tournament that I needed a shot to steal my nerves while we were playing.
Yeah. And the game you came back against Julian, it was like 6-11 or something, and you came back and won every single, like the next 3 or 4 battles to win the game.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And it's weird, right? Because I play with the same people all the time, so you kind of like get a feel for how they may play, or what they may think is more important or not important, or if they're going to play a support card or whatever. But you're playing with a completely different group of people. Like you have no information to make any kind of a judgment.
Yeah, you don't know how they're going to play. You don't know if they're the more sort of deliberate player or more aggressive, or are they going to go for that 2-point land, or are they going to play supplies? You don't know. So yeah, it's many interesting decisions.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to you guys maybe doing that at RingCon. Then I think that'd be a lot of fun for people to jump in and be able to get to experience it. Pick up a copy. Be too late for the Kickstarter, but by then there should be like a pre-order button on the Kickstarter page so people can get in late.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Yeah, I'll look into that. See if we have enough interest to do another tournament, because that'd be, like I said, the last one was just a ton of fun.
Definitely. All right, cool. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and talking about the martial art and battlegrounds, battlefields. Jesus, we made all this time to get the name wrong. But yeah, and thanks for putting on the tournament, and that was definitely cool. I won Gangster Dice, so that was awesome. Thank you, sir.
And 2 copies of the expansion.
And 2 copies of the expansion, which kind of, I was going to throw my my money at the Kickstarter, so I was like, I'm glad I won, but
No, it's I mean the game's doing very well, so we're very happy with that.
Cool, definitely. Well, now I'm definitely going to have to pick up a second deck, so I have something to marry that second expansion to.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely. Thank everybody for checking this out. If you don't know, we roast our own coffee. I don't do it myself, but Neil, our game master for two of our RPG games, Fear Itself and Rogue Trader, he has his own coffee business. So we have a Legends of Tabletop brew. It's the legendary brew. There's a link in the show notes if you'd like to check that out, or you could do tinyurl.com/legendary brew. It's a medium roast. It's really good. It's what I drink. I have an order hopefully coming tomorrow because I'm almost out of coffee. I feel like I say that all the time when I'm on air, but I drink a shitload of coffee, so it's usually true. So please check that out. Ratings and reviews on iTunes or Podchaser or whatever your podcatcher of choice is, it helps us out tremendously. So if you would be so inclined as to leave us a review, it would be most appreciated. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll catch you next time.